You breathe in, you breathe out. But depending on where you do it, it might be affecting your fertility. Tracking hundreds of men in Salt Lake City in the U.S. state of Utah over 4 years, researchers have found that exposure to common air pollutants during sperm development is linked to subtle DNA changes that can affect gene activity. Those changes are believed to affect fertility, adding to concerns about air pollution's impact on reproductive health. Ozone and nitrogen dioxide showed the strongest associations in the study presented on Tuesday at the annual meeting of the European Society of Human Reproduction and Embryology in London. Let's take a closer look at this with Professor Richard Lea. He's a reproductive biology expert at the University of Nottingham. Welcome to the day. Now, what has the study really revealed about how pollution affects male reproductive health?
Okay, so based on the information within the abstract, which is all I've seen at present, it seems like a very thorough study that has associated pollutants in the atmosphere with gene expression, but more to the point with the methylation of genes. And methylation is a process that switches genes on and off. And from what I can tell from this study, it's pretty robust. There's 1,220 men involved. They have what appears to be a good way of measuring pollutants in the atmosphere, the particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, for example. And they've expressed the limitations of this study. It is a preliminary study, but pollution is certainly one of the major sources by which we as humans are exposed to these man-made contaminants. And the problem is, of course, many of these contaminants can impact on the quality of sperm that we produce. They can reduce sperm counts. And there is a lot of data that adds to that weight of evidence that sperm counts are decreasing, and they have been decreasing for 50 to 70 years now. So it's really quite an alarming situation, and I was delighted to be asked to have a look at this abstract.
Sorry to jump in there, but I really want to ask you, now that we're getting to the core of it, does that just affect male fertility? Does it also have an effect on a man's potential offspring? What are the consequences of this?
Well, when genes are affected in a developing gonad, such as the testis and indeed the ovary, that can have long-term consequences for the fertility of that individual and even the offspring of that individual. So this group has really looked at the methylation of genes which are important in the functionality of the testis in trying to elucidate the mechanisms that might be at play here. So it's quite an alarming global situation, and I think the contribution of this group is a significant step forward, and I look forward to seeing the full publication on it.
You've studied this subject extensively yourself. Does that mean then that men who live in larger cities, which tend, of course, to be more polluted, are more likely to have fertility issues? Are there other studies to back this theory up?
Oh yes, for sure. There's a number of studies that indicate that the number of sperm men produce can vary depending where they live. So in more polluted areas, there are studies showing that there's a reduced sperm count. Other studies may indicate that there's a problem in the motility of the sperm, the ability of the sperm to swim. So yes, there's a huge amount of evidence pollutants. Of course, it's a complicated area to study. It requires detailed statistical analysis, but the weight of evidence for sure is that sperm quality is on the decline, and pollutants are a major factor in that decline.
Ozone and nitrogen dioxide are the pollutants linked most significantly to these changes in men's genes. Can you remind us where those pollutants come from most often?
So these will be released through industrial activity and car activity, the busy city type of pollutants. When we're walking along the street and we see the fumes coming out of the cars, that's where we take on board these pollutants. And particulate matter, these are tiny particles that can breathe in, which in turn have the potential to release chemicals that can impact on fertility. So it's certainly an alarming scenario that we're faced with.
So if one lives in a place with significant air pollution, is the only true solution to stay healthy then getting away from the city?
Well, it's difficult for everyone to move away from the city, isn't it? But there are steps that can be taken to have a healthier lifestyle. Perhaps if there is a lot of smog or pollution, face masks might help. Trips out of the city occasionally might help. There are other sources of these pollutants. Air pollution is certainly one major source, but of course you find these pollutants in food and water and other areas. So I guess the take-home message here is lead a healthy lifestyle, try and avoid exposures unnecessarily to excess amounts of pollutants.
Sound advice coming from Richard Lea of the University of Nottingham. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.